In October of 2001, Michael Jackson released Invincible, the most expensive album ever made. $30 million spent recording it, $25 million more promoting it. 4 years in the studio. Over 50 songs recorded and thrown away. It debuted at number 1, sold over 360,000 copies in its first week. Critics called it a sonic masterpiece. 8 months later, Michael Jackson stood outside Sony headquarters with a bullhorn, calling his label racist, calling the CEO Tommy Mottola the devil, and holding up a poster of Mottola with horns, a tail, and a pitchfork. This is the story of the album that broke Michael Jackson. By 1997, Michael Jackson needed a comeback. His last album, His Story, had been dark and angry. It sold 20 million copies, but left critics divided. In October of 1997, he walked into the studio and started recording Invincible. It would take 4 years to finish. The longest recording process of his entire career. Michael hired Rodney Jerkins, the hottest producer in R&B. According to sources, Michael paid Jerkins not to work with any other artist for 2.5 years. He paid him his full annual salary twice just to keep him exclusive. He also brought back Teddy Riley, who'd worked on Dangerous. According to Riley, Michael built him a brand new state-of-the-art studio specifically for Invincible. Michael recorded in over 10 different studios. He'd book multiple studios at the same time and only work in one. Sometimes he'd book them and not show up at all. The final track, You Are My Life, was recorded only 8 weeks before the album's October 2001 release. The entire time, the budget kept climbing. 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, $30 million. Producer Rodney Jerkins later said Michael was tortured during the recording process. He'd record a song 50 times and hate every version. He'd write over 120 songs for the album and use 16. According to Teddy Riley, Michael would arrive at the studio, listen to what they'd recorded the day before, and demand they start over. He'd hear one tiny imperfection nobody else could detect and scrap entire tracks. Riley also revealed that during the Dangerous sessions in the early 90s, Tommy Mottola, the CEO of Sony Music, came to the studio. He and Michael went into a room for 10 minutes. When Mottola left and Michael came out, he was crying. I watched Tommy dig in on him, Riley said. When Michael came out, he was crying. That tension between Michael and Mottola had been building for years, and during Invincible, it exploded. Here's what most people don't know. Michael Jackson owned half of Sony. In 1985, Michael bought the ATV music catalog for $47.5 million. The catalog included the rights to over 4,000 songs, including most of the Beatles catalog. In 1995, Michael merged ATV with Sony's music publishing to create Sony/ATV. He owned 50%. Sony owned 50%. It made him one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. But there was a problem. Michael's recording contract with Sony included clauses about when the rights to his masters would revert to him. Michael thought it would happen in the early 2000s, but the clauses pushed the date much farther away. Michael felt betrayed. He believed Sony had tricked him. And when Invincible was released on October 30th, 2001, and Sony only released 2 singles and 1 music video despite spending $25 million on promotion, Michael was convinced they were sabotaging him. According to Tommy Mottola's book Hitmaker, Invincible debuted at number 1, but was out of the top 10 by December. Michael called Sony executive Dave Glue repeatedly, demanding they do anything to get the album back to number 1. When you are used to hearing "Yes, Michael, yes, Michael, yes, Michael" from everybody around you, Mottola wrote, "It must be unbearable to hear, 'No, Michael. We cannot and will not put millions more into the promotion of this album.'" Sales had completely stalled, and that was after we had already spent a global marketing budget of more than $25 million. Michael told Sony he would not sign a new deal. He would fulfill his remaining obligations and leave as a free agent. And then, according to Mottola, something snapped. On June 15th, 2002, Michael Jackson spoke at a fan club event in London. He told the crowd, "Tommy Mottola is a devil. They tried to destroy my album, but I've always said good art never dies." 3 weeks later, on July 6th, 2002, Michael appeared at Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network headquarters in Harlem. National and international news crews were there. Al Sharpton thought Michael would talk about artists' rights in general. Instead, Michael launched a full-scale attack. "The record companies really do conspire against their artists," Michael said. "They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Sony, Tommy Mottola, the president of the record division. He is mean, he is a racist, and he is very devilish." He claimed Mottola had called a black Sony artist a fat black N-word. He held up a poster of Mottola with devil horns, a tail, and a pitchfork. He had another sign that read, "Sony Music Kills." And then he said something that shocked everyone in the room. Mariah Carey, after divorcing Tommy, came to me crying. She was crying so badly I had to hold her. She said to me, "This is an evil man, Michael. This man follows me." She said he taps her phones, and he is very evil, and she doesn't trust him. He is a horrible human being, and we have to continue our drive until he's terminated. The comments sent shockwaves through the industry. Sony released a statement calling Michael's remarks ludicrous, spiteful, and hurtful. Even Al Sharpton distanced himself. "I have known Tommy for 15 or 20 years, and never once have I known him to say or do anything that would be considered racist. I didn't know that Michael planned to personally attack Tommy, but nobody tells Michael Jackson what to do." Michael Jackson refused to tour for Invincible. No world tour, no promotional concerts, nothing. According to Michael Durham Prince, one of Michael's dancers, they were planning to tour. But then September 11th, 2001 happened. All major artists canceled their tours, and Michael used it as an excuse to back out entirely. People close to him knew the truth. Michael didn't want to perform anymore. The 30-minute anniversary special at Madison Square Garden in September of 2001 showed it. He looked uncomfortable. He looked like he didn't want to be there. Invincible sold 8 million copies worldwide by 2003. For any other artist, that would be massive success. But for Michael Jackson, who'd sold 34 million copies of Thriller in the United States alone, it was a disappointment. And Michael blamed Sony. He blamed Tommy Mottola. But according to people who worked with him, he also blamed himself. Years later, bodyguard Javon Beard revealed that Michael's hatred of Sony lasted until his death. His hatred of Sony was on a whole nother level. "One day, Mr. Jackson told us he wanted some headphones to listen to music while he walked on the treadmill. One of the other security guys went out and got him a pair. I was in the house less than a week later, and I saw that they'd been broken in half. They were Sony headphones." Invincible was certified double platinum in the United States in January of 2002. In 2009, the year of Michael's death, it was voted by online readers of Billboard as the best album of the 2000s. But Michael Jackson never performed a single song from it on tour. He never promoted it beyond the initial release. He never talked about it in interviews. He acted like it didn't exist. Because to him, Invincible represented everything that had gone wrong in his life. The loss of control, the betrayal by his label, the realization that even spending $30 million couldn't guarantee success, the understanding that the world had moved on and maybe he wasn't invincible after all. The album is dedicated to Benjamin Benny Hermansen, a 15-year-old Afro-Norwegian boy who was stabbed to death by neo-Nazis in Oslo, Norway in January of 2001. Michael had never met him, but Benny's friend, Omer Bati, was Michael's friend, and Michael dedicated the most expensive album ever made to a boy who died fighting hatred. It's the one pure thing about Invincible, the one part Michael never regretted. Everything else, the 4 years in the studio, the $30 million budget, the 50 songs thrown away, the fight with Sony, the public meltdown, the refusal to tour, the hatred that lasted until his death 8 years later. Here's what nobody talks about. Michael Jackson broke those Sony headphones in front of his bodyguards because every time he looked at the Sony logo, he saw betrayal. Every time he heard the name Tommy Mottola, he saw the man who'd made him cry in a recording studio. Every time someone mentioned Invincible, he remembered spending $30 million to prove he was still the king of pop and having the world shrug. The album sold 8 million copies. Most artists would kill for that. But Michael Jackson wasn't most artists. He was a man who'd sold over 70 million copies of Thriller. A man who'd once been so famous, he couldn't leave his house. A man who'd spent his entire life being told he was invincible. And Invincible proved he wasn't. If you want to hear more untold stories about the legends who changed music history, subscribe to King of Pop and hit that like button. Stay tuned for more content.